Chris Lovell here with another edition of Pirate Talk. Colton Coons taking care of us behind the camera, and Chip Darden, head football coach, next to me. Been a couple weeks. Wish we were still talking about games and all that, but Prosper Walnut Grove, second round, unbelievable shootout, Shotwell Stadium, just didn't have enough. Had dealt with some injuries in that game, and that's a really good team you lost to.
It is. Thought they did things the right way. You could tell that on film, and they were in the district that was kind of labeled of everybody around the state the district of doom, and they won it. And I think a lot of people thought they would maybe be in that trying to vie for the fourth place spot in that district, and they won it. So pretty impressive. But we were definitely disappointed. You know, it's different talking to you now than right after the game or a day after. But our guys were disappointed. I think we really thought should, whatever word you want to put in there, have won the game. And, that's how it goes when you're playing good teams and got multiple good teams playing each other. But I think the depth of our region kind of showed up in this playoffs. We were right there with Walnut Grove. The same night, Wichita Falls Memorial, and same thing there, talking to their coach, the should have beaten Argyle, who's the one still playing.
Yeah.
And I think it shows our district as well, that Memorial's right there with them. I think they ended up losing 28-21. But anyway, our region was just tough. The Melissa was preseason top 10. They were a regional finalist last year. They don't even make the playoffs, and just a gauntlet that, to get out of the region, to be where Argyle's at right now, I think you've got to be playing really good football at the right time. You've got to execute at a high level. You got to have a little luck. You got to, all of it factors in. And ultimately, we didn't play our best. We had one of our worst quarters of the year, with some untimely injuries, with some untimely play calling, and I mean, all of it just kind of can't do it. Can't do it against good teams in this region. So, but what a year I think our guys had. And I to me, again, after the fact now, and you might be going to ask me about some of this, but after the fact now, like wins and losses, they do matter. And everything kind of we do is geared towards learning how to win and doing things that will win. But you're able to evaluate after, 3 or 4 weeks off of, okay, now the more important stuff. What did we learn from it? What are these guys going to take from it? And I think this group just showed a lot of resiliency this year, getting through injury type stuff, rebounding off of a loss, or rebounding off of maybe a bad half or something like that. That hopefully they'll be able to take down the road and be better human beings. And I think we got about 42 seniors that went through that. That's hopefully what they'll take out of it.
Yeah, we will touch on some of that. How will you remember this particular team, and how do you think they'll remember it?
Yeah, I think first for me personally, the seniors are pretty special. They were seventh graders my first year as the head coach, and so kind of getting that group and seeing them all the way through, they're pretty special to me. Again, that's selfish on my part, but that's just kind of how I feel about it.
That's what I asked you.
Yeah, and but they were also a class that won all the way through, whether they were, at Laura Bush and at middle school, and then coming together and mixing guys on different teams or whatever. They've just always won. So I'll remember that about them. I think as a whole, what the team itself is going to remember, and we talked about this a little bit when we got back together after Thanksgiving break, but is the I don't know if determination is the word, but how they were able to respond to situations. I think is something that they'll all be able to take from it. Our theme was tradition is earned, and that was kind of day one of practice, talking about the theme and what we were going to do. We talked about that tradition isn't necessarily winning X amount of games. You got to win 10 games. That's part of the tradition. The tradition is what you pass down. And I think what they showed, and hopefully what they'll remember, is that they passed down how we do things. I think a lot of programs that don't have some tradition, you get down 28-0 against Friendship in the first quarter, you're losing 70-0 or 70-7. And I think this group showed how we play, how we We don't point fingers. We keep playing. We're going to play extremely hard until that final whistle. All of a sudden, it's a one possession game in the fourth quarter with the ball. I think you can look at the way we lost two games, a heartbreaker at home on senior night, and then turn around and kind of lay an egg at Wiley. You lose those two games, I think a lot of teams go into an open week and are done playing football and kind of then limp in and probably go to El Paso and get their tails beat by a good team. And this team was just different. Like they showed. It was really awesome for some of our JV kids that got to travel, for them to see how this team just keeps playing hard, how their effort matters, and then typically most of the time when your how is right, how you do it, how you go about your business, it translates into more wins than losses. And so I think that's what will be remembered most, and fun times and sad times and all, everything in between. And that's what makes it fun. That's what sports are all about.
Sports.
Yep.
It makes you feel every emotion that there is.
It does.
That's why we joke about that or bounce that off of each other often, really, since we've kind of known each other well.
Yeah.
That's just always been my favorite word, because it can mean all the things.
Yep.
I mean, and it depends on what context you mention it, but it can mean happy, sad, angry, frustrated, thrilled. I mean,
Yep.
High, low. As we've sat here throughout all season, I could mention to you a variety of different names, but I'll tell you one thing I'll remember, and it's just because he was an example of sports. He wasn't a kid we mentioned the first month, maybe even half the season. And by the end of the season, not only is he one of your best players, do you know who I'm going to say?
I don't yet.
Okay. It's like y'all couldn't talk enough about him, but it's like his growth as a player, as a person, and all that. But Tommy Cone.
Yeah.
You said, like, man, he had to play like 3 different positions last week.
Yep.
And like that's very hard to do. But he wasn't like, necessarily in the mix early, but this is the beauty of what you guys did as a staff. But watching that kid flourish all throughout the journey. I mean,
I think he had 14 tackles in our last game. Pretty impressive.
I mean,
there was a stretch there where he made 3 in a row that were like all different. Anyway, it was impressive. But yeah, that's exactly right. Like Tommy, I think throughout his career probably could have had a moment or moments where he's like, poor me, I'm behind this kid on the depth chart. How am I going to get to play more? How am I? And it just was never that way with him. He just was about, I'm going to show up the next day. I'm going to do everything asked. Do you want to switch positions? Whatever I need to help the team, coach. And he does.
And smile throughout the whole time.
That's what I call him, Smiley.
Yeah.
And I think we got multiple guys like that. Caden Brown's a great example too, that sophomore year wanted to play quarterback, and so he ends up, he's on the JVB team playing quarterback, getting a lot of reps, and ends up being a first team all district defensive end, which I think his freshman or sophomore year he probably would have laughed at you thinking he's a first team all district defensive end. So just in general, that is kind of what I'm talking about with this team, that to me that I'm going to remember. I hope that they remember, hope our fans remember, and got some satisfaction out of watching them and watching how they do that, because it was a pretty special group.
Yeah, and you've got, there was a lot of juniors that were all district honors. I mean, I think Turnbow and Deuce and Cade Gant and Ryan Rodriguez and John Ryder Hatton. I'm probably forgetting some folks, but there's a lot of nucleus there that probably can look up and go, this is how we're supposed to do it, so that they can lead next year. Have you ever had MVPs on the same team? Is that normal?
Yeah, we have.
I mean, because this is district like MVPs. This isn't like something internal.
Correct.
You have the special teams MVP, the offensive MVP, and the defensive MVP.
Yep.
How is that voted on? Other coaches?
Yeah, so the district, all the district coaches get together and you vote on that stuff, on all the all district, and so we have had that before, never as not the district champion. But those 3 guys deserved it, and I think there were people from Abilene Wiley that deserved it. There were, I think you could make cases for a lot of guys, but I think our 3 definitely deserved it. They had really special years. They're really good, but like their season was really good. It wasn't I don't think any of the three. It wasn't like a career accomplishment thing, but
Cub Patton, Michael Deaver, and Cole Stanzione for
Yep.
those. Yeah,
and special about that, Deaver, obviously, this was his first year. He was a first-team All-District last year. This back-to-back years for Cole Stanzione to win it. He was a co last year, I think, with an Abilene High kid. And then this is 3 years in a row for Cub Patton to be the special teams MVP. So kind of neat there to have a little have guys kind of like that. And, we feel as coaches and like we're not, so everybody knows, we're not allowed to vote on our kids when we do that. You're not allowed to vote on your own. We feel in our hearts about certain kids and how good they are, how talented they are, how much they mean to our team. But it's cool to see other coaches in the district feel the same way. And when those votes come through, you kind of, it's not on us coaches like we did anything. It's like a proud dad moment. Like, all right, these guys worked hard, they deserved it, and other people that aren't in our organization saw it too.
And it doesn't come out until the last team in the district is done playing. Is that how it works?
Yes, and usually we voted a little bit later this year. Usually you vote like that weekend or a couple days after that last game, and then once everybody's out, it comes out. And then we just didn't vote until last week, so that's why it came out a little bit later.
But I mean that's fun. I think this is really cool, and he was one of the obstacles you guys had to overcome, because I think Preston Jones, you would say when he was playing, very important to what you were doing.
Absolutely.
Next to Cole Stanzione. First team, all academic, all state.
Yep.
That which means that means he had better grades than you and I did. I'm just going to guess.
Yes, he did.
He did. Yeah.
So the Texas High School Coaches Association does a neat deal that they do, but academic all state, and they do it for all sports. The crazy thing, and I was telling our team about it this morning, announcing who got on that and stuff. But the requirements just to be nominated, it's like you've got to have like a 93 grade point average just to be nominated. Not because we've got a lot of guys on there. I nominated a lot more too, and so you've got to have a really high GPA, and then it takes into account if you've taken SAT or ACT, your class rank, any community involvement stuff. Anyway, there's a whole lot to it. There's a process to it, but pretty neat. I really think I'll have to look back. I told our team this morning, I might have lied to them because I haven't totally checked it, but I think it's the most academic all-state guys we've had. And off the top of my head, I don't know if you have the list, but it's like 16.
You had a bunch of second team guys, a bunch of honorable mention guys, but Preston was a first teamer, and I thought, that's elite.
Yeah, Preston's going to do big things. He one of those days after practice, we had the board, and they had to answer a question coming off the field, and one was who on our team could be president. I think that was on election day. And I think Preston got a few votes. I could see it.
I love it. Okay, speaking of community involvement, all that, I also noticed that Dave Campbell's nominated Cooper High School as the Community Connection School. Like you were in the mix with Melissa and Prosper, a couple of schools where Tascosa, Rockwall Heath went. What does that entail?
Good question. We're nominated as I think they do it through Optimum maybe, but kind of they look at teams around the state that just have it's both sides. I think the program being involved in the community, but then also the community involvement within our athletic program. And so, just a little mix of that.
Because you guys
good recognition.
You guys have done a lot of volunteer work. You guys, it's just there's a connection with this part of the city and your football program.
Absolutely. So. And our guys love it. Like we've mentioned the Leadership Council a few times, but those guys on the Leadership Council, that was a big thing that they wanted to do. Was we do a lot of stuff that's kind of individual. We'll get groups of guys to do different things. We do, go read to elementary schools, but a lot of times, again, it's just 5 or 6 of them that we'll rotate through. This one, they wanted to do full team. We're going to all show up and do something. And
any group that, is chomping on Allsup's burritos after a game, a big win, mind you. I got to tell you that's going to be an award for that.
Sounds delicious right now.
Yeah, that's right. And somebody I know had 2 of them. Yeah, that's right. We mentioned some of the college signings you've had. I want to get into that aspect. So Cub Patton signs with Kansas State. Michael Deaver signs with Texas Tech. I believe Jackson Sewell signed with Colorado State and Pueblo. Anybody else that I'm missing there? I know there may be some that come.
Yeah, there will be more. So that in the early period, those are the three. Those three guys are going to graduate early, and they'll be enrolled in January at their respective colleges, which is a neat deal to be able to go through spring football
and it's
kind of get a leg up.
Must.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
They had to work hard, kind of there at the end, getting credits and stuff. So just proud of them for doing all that. But yeah, then there'll be more. But those three, I mentioned it at the signing day, but all three of those guys played some varsity football as freshmen. They were 4-year guys. Got to watch all three of those play middle school ball here. Just kind of cool. I mean, it's different. We grow so much. When I started here, I think there was 600 kids in our high school, and last year there was 2,000. I mean, it just the growth that we've had is crazy. So you just have kids that move in. It's just part of it. But those guys, being here from middle school all the way up, it's been pretty neat to watch them. And I'm not so sure we don't have some that might play on Sundays too. If they have good college careers, like I think they will.
How has that? I've always talking to you about this stuff because it's fascinating. I come at it from a different angle at times. You do too, but that whole landscape of recruiting and what is available to young men out there, where it's available, what actually is available versus what's not, and all that is changed dramatically over the last 3 to 4 years. And it's changing even more next year. How do you handle? What's your advice? What has changed from your standpoint on what you can tell somebody that's sitting there going, Coach, I want to be recruited. Help me. I want to go somewhere.
Yeah, it is tough. It is really hurting high school kids. Like that, there's just no other way to put it. And I get it from the college level. If I'm the head coach at X college, and I've got the ability to take a kid that's played 2 years he's a 20-year-old, physically mature. I'm going to take a high school kid that hadn't, stepped on a college campus yet. It's a no-brainer. And so I think you're seeing schools that, typically 25 was always the number that, I want to say maybe even McGuire's first year at Texas Tech, they took 25 high school kids. Like it was all high school kids. And now they're just not going to do that. A lot of them are taking 10 to 15, and then they're going to leave 10 or so spots open for transfers. So you just see the trickle down. Like you see some of our players that typically we got a good beat on it. Okay, this is a Division II kid. We're gonna get in touch with all the Lone Star Conference, the West Texas A&M, Eastern Mexico. We're gonna push this kid there. We think this kid's a FCS, and I don't want to mention any of our kids' names, but like as I'm talking, I've got these guys in my mind. All right, we think this kid can play at Stephen F. Austin, and we got connections there. Well, you start seeing every 133 of the Division Ones. Well, now they're all 133 are taking 10 or more less high school kids. So now that Division I bumps down to the lower. And anyway, it's just a trickle down. And so I think a lot of our guys, we still got guys getting great opportunities, but I think, and I don't want to diminish, a certain school and say that's not as good an opportunity as another. Any of them are great opportunities, but I think it's hurting a little bit, some of our guys. And then the other side of it is the walk-on side. I think in the past, a lot of our guys would be an easy walk-on at a Texas Tech, got a connection at North Texas. I think we could call them and say, hey, these two guys, right now they're only getting D3s, but they can walk on, they make a hand, and that's just not a reality anymore. And I think it really won't be a reality come April is what it sounds like. So all that has been tough to manage. But as far as our advice, we kind of ask our guys, like, do you really want to – there's a difference in wanting to go play college football or wanting to get recruited and be able to tweet it out. And so we just make sure those guys really want to go play. If you're willing to go play at a school that might have worse facilities than we do and it's a full-time job.
And there's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot. We got great facilities and resources and things like that. But if you're willing to do that for that school and not just go to Alabama, then let's go. We'll find you a place to play. And so lot that goes into it. We've got some people might see like on a I don't know if it's in our program or not, but something that says one of our coaches is a recruiting coordinator. I got asked about that one time. They're like, well, you can't recruit at the high school level. I was like, yes, our recruiting coordinator is our kind of liaison to the colleges. And so through myself, recruiting coordinator, Coach Ty Hooper does that. And then having Coach Lee Hayes on staff that coached in the Big 12. He coached Division II. He's coached all over and got a lot of connections. We really are able to talk to a lot of people about our kids, and ultimately, if they want them, then they'll offer them. But we kind of don't leave many stones unturned. We work pretty hard for our kids, trying to find them spots.
Yeah, and you've been doing this so long, and you do know a lot of people. I think that's key. Do you have a feel, just a guess on a number of kids like in the spring that may continue to, or not?
Yeah, I would guess we would probably have 5 or 6 that end up signing somewhere.
Okay.
Hudson Hamilton is committed to Central Oklahoma. UCO, and so he will for sure. And then
that's a pretty good.
They did good. They beat Harding this year in the playoffs. That was a kind of a big upset. Harding has been winning it, and good program. And then again, I'm not going to mention a whole lot of guys, but I think we're going to be able to find a spot for Jackson Austin and Malik Epps Keller, and again there'll be more, but those guys have some offers, and Cole Stanzioni. I mean, those guys are college football players, and so we'll do everything we can to find them a spot.
Yeah, and there's also nothing wrong with just like, man, I just want to go be a person in college and go study and go do the college thing either. I mean, if you're not wanting to each his own on all
Absolutely.
that, because I think you would say the same thing. You better love it.
Oh yeah.
You better truly love it, because it's going to be difficult and not as glamorous in some cases. You have to love it because you really love putting that on and being out there with teammates and all those things. Do you know what hot candy is?
Hot candy?
Uh-huh.
Candy that's hot?
Well, I mean, I'm going to see if you know what this is right here. So we typically have a bowl of candy up here. If I can get this thing off. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, that's my mom makes that. My mom makes the best. Is this from my mom?
Sure is.
Let's go.
Yeah, Carolyn Darden. I mean, if you
cinnamon,
can see it, yeah, and it is. Help me. She says,
"Is that good for TV?"
It's probably not good for your teeth. Is what it's probably not good for. But she says that she watches these shows, and
that's our one person watching.
She's heard us talk about hot tamales, specifically me. But this is where your true love of hot tamales came from. Is that fair?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Cairo syrup and like hot cinnamon and some powdered sugar. But this was a staple at the Darden
that's
household
when you it's Christmas season when
you can smell that cinnamon. Because I mean, when you open this can, it burns the nostrils. I mean, it is like, would you dabble in a bunch of this or just like a little bit?
Before I came, I've got some in my house. I grabbed a little handful. Yep. Okay.
I swear to you, my mom, she is a peanut brittle person. So every year, that was, and it's the same canister.
Yep.
But peanut brittle and same ingredient. But this is okay. So I wanted to,
cinnamon.
I mean, no doubt, which is the most underrated condiment that there is. Cinnamon. I prefer cinnamon on a roll. That's one of my favorite
babka,
things.
Maybe
babka. Yeah. This is chocolate babka cinnamon. Seinfeld. Google it. Okay. So this is one of your favorites.
Yeah.
With the holidays coming up, your 3 favorite things about said holiday season, and they can be small, medium, large. You can go. I mean, what are things that? Man, and obviously you can't name Mom's hot candy here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without like the family. I mean, obviously the family part of it is, but I think I'm a big fan of the Christmas lights, exterior illumination. My dad taught me everything I know about exterior illumination. But
your favorite thing is like putting them up, or just
just
seeing
having.
them
Yeah.
up?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not putting them
just
up.
makes
but,
you happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like the season. I don't know. It's
Okay.
yeah. I like that.
Like seeing not only yours or just everybody's.
Yeah,
It just is like
everybody's.
I can be down with that.
Comparing, I mean, there's always a challenge there. And ours,
Yeah.
I got to do a little better on ours, but.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be one. We always went and looked at Christmas lights. We still do with my family now, and so that's always fun. I think you can ask me about movies later. Okay,
you go for
it.
So
Christmas Vacation, like, and I always just like that on TV. You can always find one of the good Christmas movies, but Christmas Vacation's obviously number one.
Christmas bonus.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe not.
And I don't know. I'm bad at this game. If you hadn't, figured that out.
We all have things that trigger the memory or the brain whenever you just like, man, that's my favorite part about that time of year.
Yeah.
And we're all different, and it depends on how old your kids are,
sure,
or what your family situation is, or whatever. But I was curious. Okay, so you mentioned that that Christmas Vacation is a movie that makes you smile.
Oh yeah.
Is there a Christmas movie out there that makes you like not smile or like frown or like, oh man, I don't like that?
Well, there's maybe not like totally against them, but there's some that I don't think are as good as a lot of people think. Like Elf. I just don't think Elf's that good.
You're not a Will Ferrell guy. I think that's right. Okay, I think you told me that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like that one is kind of And then there's some of the classics that I probably should like more, like, I don't know. I can't even think
Miracle
of them.
on
Yeah,
I've never seen
those. And
I've never seen it, which I guess is sacrilege.
I got to be careful too with my kids, making sure that I'm not going to get in trouble at home.
That's right.
But
are you
Elf is the one that I'm like, I don't really care for it. It's just not that funny.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, yeah. See, we're simpatico there.
Somebody on the basketball team, I noticed in our publication at school, they asked him favorite Christmas movie, and he said it's Ben Earlbeck, I think. I was like, all right, Earlbeck, your parents taught you well.
That's well played. Yes, it at Nakatomi Plaza. It absolutely is a Christmas movie. Yes. Okay, man. Well, banquet coming up in January.
Yeah, we don't have a date fully set there, but it'll be sometime in January.
One of the nights of the playoffs?
Not on a night of the playoffs.
Oh, you want to sit home and...
Yeah, we're going to...
Do you like... Okay, just transitioning there. Do you like the whole new playoff system?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're going to be served many portions of said main course there.
It's going to be great. I can't believe it's taken so long.
Basically.
And they did it right. SMU deserved to be in. We won't get into that debate, but... Hey, and I'll just say this: how awesome if one of your schools is hosting one of those. Like, man, I hope one day the Red Raiders are in it. How fun it would be, and love it to have that. It
would be the biggest game in really even the programs that are now in it. Theoretically, it is one of the biggest home games in their program history.
Yeah.
I don't care what you've done regular season wise or what championships you won, because this is new.
Yeah.
And this is literally imagine if like the NCAA tournament basketball tournament had home games.
That'd be unreal.
Just insane.
Yep.
I think, so speaking of SMU, shout out to Ken Drawn. I know he does good stuff for just everybody around here. I appreciate being with him weekly, and you and a lot of your coaches for something we get together on. He's a big Alabama fan. Roll Tide, Ken. They'll beat Michigan. They'll beat Michigan in their cute little bowl game, but no playoffs for those guys. They've had plenty of success over the years. So anyway, we won't feel too sorry for Roll Tide and all that stuff. So
I don't feel sorry at all.
All right, man. Hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, appreciate you.
It.
There
Thanks,
he is,
Colton.
Coach Darden. Thank you to Colton Coons. Thank you to Carolyn Darden for the hot candy. We certainly appreciated it. And with that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you next time. This has been another edition of Pirate Talk.